So my intention for guiding here is to bring forward an opportunity for exploring this dance, as I mentioned, between instruction and self-generated spontaneous movement and the phrasing that happens here. If what I'm guiding isn't quite right for you, please follow your body's impulses and cues and make agreements. That's most important. My intention is to help guide you into the intimacy and the relationship with yourself. If you'd like to have your video on, that's wonderful for me, but if you'd like to turn your video off, that's okay too. Okay, so make the choice there that's gonna allow you to really enter your personal space. You won't need to see me, but I'll have my video on in case you wanna connect with me visually. So I invite you to find a supported place of yielding. So I would encourage you to choose either a mid-level kind of seated position or to come all the way into the floor on your back, your belly, your side. And you might need to find a couple of different shapes or positions before you come into settling. And as I'm guiding today, I'll intend to give a lot of space. So if you have a pause where you're not hearing my voice and you think maybe my audio is not working, most likely it's that I'm backing out so that you can listen into your inner spaces, into your environment, into your breath. So noticing the places where you're in contact with the ground, what body areas are in direct relationship with the earth, and name those: soles of feet, sides of leg, rib cage, fleshy part of my arm, cheek. Taking a moment to bring attention to each of those contact points and asking your body to settle here. And then expanding your awareness so that you can tune into all of those contact points at once. And as you expand into that awareness, notice how wide, tall, deep your field is. That might be right at the edge of your own body container. That might be the outer kinesphere around you. That could be the size of your dwelling or your neighborhood, and so on it goes. Where is your field resonating right now? What's an appropriate place for you to expand out into and then return back towards your own center? What can you manage? That might change during practice. So staying aware of that. So we make contact with the ground. We're also in contact with space, which is part of the field. So maybe now noticing where the air is touching your skin. That could be your own breath coming in and out of your nose, your mouth. And is there a weight or a texture or a temperature to the air and how it contacts your body? And again, paying attention to each of the particular locations in your own body field where you're interfacing with space. And now bringing awareness to the supportive ground, your body resting into the ground, imprinting even into the earth. And at the same time, the sense of the spaciousness and the container of space around you. And if at any point movement comes forward through your body to engage, to be a part of space or to sense other contact areas into the ground, allow for those movements to happen, however subtle or however expressive. This field as your partner of support. Next, let's bring attention to eyes, both outer eyes and inner eyes. And let's do a practice of oscillating between the two for a few repetitions. And then you can choose where your eyes are to land. Beginning with eyes open. You might be in movement right now, or you might be still. Eyes open. Allow your eyes to wander and gaze about a little bit. Some of you are outside, so you'll have quite a distance of what you can kind of like tune into with your eyes. If you're inside, maybe moving towards pattern, light, shadow, texture, the edges of things, the shaping of things. And as your eyes move, might move your head, your torso, might take you into a different position. Notice if this alters your body breathing you at all as you bring attention to your seeing. And if you can, see your own body as well. And I notice as I do that, I'm bringing my hand to my body where I'm seeing it, and I'm starting to make some contact with my own structure, tapping, rubbing, weighting the palms on my legs, for example. And then when you're ready, gently closing your eyes and notice what your inner vision brings forward. What are you receptive or sensitive to with eyes closed that's different than what you were sensitive and receptive to with eyes open? And again, notice if your breathing has changed at all with this inner vision. Now for a few rounds, open your eyes, connect into the space through your visual system, and then close your eyes and allow the inner eyes to be present with your inner territory. And then ask your body where eyes would like to settle. And of course, you can continue to change that orientation at any point. Now find a contact point. For me, it's the soles of my feet because I'm lying on my back, but it could really be your hands, it could be the side of your hips, it could be various body parts, but a contact point where you can begin to send a rock through your living form. So I'm right now pushing through my feet and sending a rock through my legs, rocking my pelvis like a boat, imagining all of my vertebrae floating in water, each rocking independently, all the way up to my skull, allowing my jaw to soften, the globes of my eyes to soften, width between my ears, a spacious volume in my gut, my belly. So rocking in these organic intervals, rocking until you're not rocking anymore, pausing, settling into the sensation, and then rocking again. You can change where the rock comes from. So for example, I'm going to drop my knees to the side for my next interval, and my rocking is now more asymmetrical. It's my top leg that's really initiating the rhythm. So rocking and pausing. But there's something else here too. If while you're rocking, this is occurring for me right now, your body gives you an impulse for a different kind of movement. So my body just changed direction. My knee went one way, my fingertips went another way. Large expansion. There's a pandiculation inside of this, a twisting, a rolling, a reaching now of my leg, a stretching through my calf and foot, that kind of thing. If that comes forward, follow those impulses. Allow that guidance from your body to have its phrase. And you'll find you'll come back to a rest of some sort, and then you can begin rocking again. This is also an interesting time to allow for some sounding if you're in a place where you can do that, some open mouth exhales, some guttural sounds maybe, some toning, sighing, long S sounds. So in this moment, contacting the pleasurable sensations that you're experiencing right now in the rocking and the resting and the unwinding and the sounding, and follow the pleasure. Returning every once in a while to the field of space, of ground, of the container that you're inhabiting, allowing that to be dynamic as well. And I'm returning back to constructive rest position. And I'm sensing into the weight of my legs, but the groundedness of the soles of my feet. And I'm allowing my left knee to rock in towards my right leg and left knee to rock out to the floor. And with this practice here, paying attention to what's happening within the hip socket, this spacious connection between the femur and the pelvis. So I'm beginning bony here, allowing then that bony rhythm to move into any other layer that's coming forward for you. I'm kind of now getting a fluid quality here, and the rocking is becoming bigger to where I'm rocking to the right now too. So it's not just the left leg rocking, it's like a domino effect. The left leg started, but the right leg is now part of this rhythm. And tracking the rolling point of contact, especially that rolling point of contact across soles of feet and across your back body. So from one pelvic half to the other, across your sacrum. And if these rolling point of contact surfaces could have that quality of grains of sand, opening and spreading, dispersing, dissolving down. And I'm now taking a stillness where my knees have dropped to the side, settling into a rest. Changing the orientation of my eyes. So that's another kind of underlying place of practice here. Inner eyes and outer eyes. And within the rest, again, self-generated movement, intuitive movement may come forward. I'm having that experience right now. These can be small micro movements or very big full body expressions. Oh, and remembering how much love we're giving into our fascia when we're doing this, the hydration, the tissue gliding, the changes in our autonomic tone, nervous system regulation. What a gift to our body minds. And I'm returning back to center, and I'm going to start the same study on the other side. So I'm beginning with my right knee moving towards my left, and then right knee moving out to the floor. So I'm rocking right in the hip, feeling the weight of bones. I'm visualizing the spaciousness around the bones. And as that rocking continues, it gets a little bigger, and my other leg starts to be a part of the pattern. Following that rolling point of contact across the soles of my feet and along my back body. A massage for my sacrum. Least amount of effort. And when you're ready, knee dropping to that side. The top leg really kind of hanging off of the body, suspended in space. Returning to sounding, if that's working for you, that's continuing to bring you balance and pleasure and connection. All right, let's work with knee drop and diagonal bridge. So here's a pattern that we can be quite direct with. And then as we follow the sensations as force transfer through us, allow for those unwinding moments to occur as they might. So I'll just begin by taking us through the diagonal bridge and then recommend that you follow your process. I'm going to push into my right foot or push my foot into the ground. And I'm following that force transfer through my knee and through my hip. And so I'm standing on my right foot now. There's really a lot of energy, and I can feel the tensing of my thigh muscles. My top hip is in full extension, but there's this wonderful rotation, right? Weight in my left hip and allowing that yielding on the left side body, active on the right. I'm going to go just that far and then folding into my hip. I'm going to allow my sits bones to drop to the floor, tail reaching, and I'm back in a knee drop. I'm going to repeat that a few more times. So I'm pushing into my foot, following the force transfer, standing in that leg. Oh, big mighty exhale at the top here. So it's like a mini pendiculation right within my breath. And then easing, coming back to the floor, finding knee drop. You could experiment here with tempos, so moving a little bit quicker than I was just guiding in and out of it, and finding a little bit of a rocking quality here then, if you make the tempo more dynamic, quicken it. And then foot push, taking it beyond the hip, moving it through the waist. And now what I'm doing is I'm connecting into the deep volume of my torso. So really imagining now this force moving through the center of my pelvic floor into my viscera, up through my rib cage and contacting your respiratory diaphragm. And that's about as far as I'm moving. I'm also having an experience now of side body. My arm is in this high Y, so I'm starting to feel the tensioning through my armpit. And since my spine is now more involved, there's also some rotation happening through my head, my skull. Now, at this point, this is a lovely place for specific micro movements that are kind of a rocking type as well. So I can push through the foot, have a subtle roll into my left side, and then release a little bit. Shoulder drops to the floor, hip drops a little bit, push again. It's like a wave, an ocean wave. Sends a really gentle spiral through my body. And I really get the spiral shaping through my arm. Oh, and I'm having a moment here, so I'm going to follow the impulse. It's taking me to my belly. Now, another thing you might want to put in an interval is kind of like as a reset. If you have a big phrasing of unwinding, I often like to come back to a very kind of symmetrical rocking, long legs or bent legs. For like 3 to 5 breaths or something very integrative before moving on. Or what we'll do right now is go to the other side. So I'm going to draw my left arm up to a high Y, and my knees are dropped into the right. And I'm beginning with diagonal bridge, again, really taking the force just up to below the waist. So I'm really following it through my leg and into the pelvis. And then I'm intentionally stopping the force transfer there. And that's a really interesting study all in of itself. The fact that you can generate force through the push and then choose where to send it and how far to send it. And when I send it just through the pelvis to below the waist, I have this experience of allowing my ribs and shoulders and arm to really kind of hang off that support. There's an ease through my upper connection. So if you're following along with me right now, tracking this a few times, maybe first starting slow and then experimenting again with tempo, and maybe you can get a wave-like motion, a little bit of a figure eighting that can occur within your pelvic girdle. Really small spirals within your hip sockets as this occurs. Push, release in small doses. So this next time then, I'm taking the push and taking it through the deep volume of me again. Now it's interesting, we just talked about how you can choose where this goes. So I can keep this force transfer through my kind of sensory attention more superficial. So I could send it, for example, along the lateral expansion of my left side and have kind of a lot more information happening around, wrapping around like rib cage and kind of shoulder blade and armpit. Or like I was guiding on the other side, and where I want to go today for my body is through instead more the central volume, right? And so sometimes I need to slow down if I want to direct it to a place like on this side of my body, the force transfer wants to stay superficial. But I'm interested in investigating the deep volume because I know that I need some unwinding in there because I've been feeling really stiff through my organs, for example. So I'm going to slow down on the push and I'm going to invite that force transfer to shift directions. And I might need to do some micro moving or a little bit of wiggling around. And then suddenly, oh yeah, there it is. I can feel it inside, in my belly. And then that can move up through right now. What's happening is into lungs, around my heart, and pendiculation. I just want to offer some space to see where this is taking you right now. The next pattern I guide will bring us up to mid-level and up to standing. Before that, though, a few minutes here to either go to one side or the other to do this again, or perhaps there's an exploration that's occurring for you right now that's fruitful. I'll name a few things before I quiet for a 2-minute interval. We've been studying or coming back to our inner and outer eyes, directing our body into a specific pattern and allowing for unwinding, noticing the phrasing that brings us back to rest. Checking into the field that we're inhabiting, both through our connection with the ground and with space. And tuning into our body breathing us as we experience this now. And if you've been in a very inner experience, so eyes closed, and really kind of you're expanding the inner territory of you, as we do this next pattern to bring us up to a mid-level. First, open your visual field and come into relationship of you being with the environment. And so give yourself that first perceptual shift. And this practice here that we have of how we can stay eyes open and still stay checked in, tuned in to our experience unfolding within us. So I'm just going to keep playing with the same pattern of knee drop and easy body half rolling for coming up to a mid-level. And so I've got my right arm in this high Y position, and I'm going to drop my knees to the left. And I'm going to do it with a little bit more kind of energy or weight. And that will draw me then over to my left side. I have my left arm curled in and my right arm is above me. And I'm just rocking back and forth like this a few times. Now, there's a lot of different options here in terms of organizing yourself up to an efficient mid-level. The way that I'm being called to do this right now is to take this arm overhead and reach it with the momentum of that body half roll. And that brings me up into a seated folded star. And then reversing that going down, here's this beautiful body half moment. I just love this moment. So I have my left leg folded kind of forward. So I can just bring that left elbow back down. Here's that elbow knee connection. Right arm then can start arcing a big circle out in front of me. My eyes go towards those fingers. And then overhead, and I roll right back to where I started. So easy body half roll. I name this coming from this constructive rest position, which is not only knees dropping to the side, but really the whole body rolling to the side. And then this top body half has an opportunity to do some expanding or reaching out to help spoke and energy of spoking to bring you up to seated. So we can do that through the arm. So if you're interested in tracking this with me a few times, notice the really lovely full body twist that can occur as you look behind you. There's all kinds of different agreements you can make with your legs here too. So if you're not quite comfortable when you come to seated, find something that's working for you. And then try that same thing on the other side of your body. Now, what this also does is starts to bring in an intention through your arm of push. So we talked about this body half going down, which is this lovely fold. It's more of a kind of moving into the ground. But as you come away, the same arm can push you up. So you have a push with the lower arm, a reach with the upper arm. There's an ease of coming up to seated. Now, we could also do this through the top leg. So what's so fun about this easy body half roll is we can initiate the spoking action of coming up to a mid-level with the fingers, but I can also take the leg that's on top and spoke it out, and it brings me right up to a seated position. And I can use my leg with a sufficient amount of energy that I don't even really need the support of the upper body circling anymore. It can be all leg directed as I come up. And then what if you were to use both the upper body and the lower body spoking? Well, for me, when that occurs, there's a lot of momentum generated, and that's when my body starts to open up its opportunities for the next roll or the next movement. And there's this real energy for locomotion through space, both into a next mid-level position or back down into the floor. But here's the wave. Here's the wave. So for the next few minutes, play with this wave, however it's animating through you right now, until you find yourself coming up into a mid-level position that can bring you into standing. And you'll find that organically. And if you're really feeling interested in this, you might want to come to standing and then bring yourself back down to the floor, even through kind of a falling quality. Can you allow yourself to just kind of be caught by the floor? What kind of organization or folding down can you allow for to come back into the floor to then rise back up again? So you're increasing the amplitude of your wave. And the other option is to have a little bit more of a kind of a slow and sustained rise from the floor, sequencing up the spine, sequencing down the spine. So your wave can slow. And these next few rises, if you're going up and down, finding yourself really arriving to your feet and being in your standing presence. And once you arrive to your feet, notice what's in your body. Is more movement here, or is settling right into your feet here? What do your eyes need to do to kind of adjust to this activity? Return back to the field that you're inhabiting, ground, space, the container around you. And sensing the domes of your feet on the ground. These dynamic trampolines that are supporting your standing body, connecting you, maybe even rooting you down deep towards the core of the earth. Wide open palms, if it's appropriate, placing these on your body where you need some love, where you need some filling, support, resource. You might need to move your hands around a little bit before you know where that is. And once your hands land, location on your living architecture, really allow your palms to find the vibration of you through your top layer of skin, down through your first superficial layer of fascia, to the blood vessels and lymphatic vessels, bone, all the way into the cells. And imagine your own palms and your hands like the webbing, the netting of the fascial matrix. In to out, continuity. And giving yourself some words, find words of love, care, compassion to you right now. The kind of words that bring pleasure into your heart and into your belly. When you're ready, releasing your hands, maybe a little easy body shake. Maybe some silly sounding once more. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice. I so appreciate being in practice with you right now.